All right, so this meeting will be recorded, and the recording will be available shortly after we have this live presentation. So you can find that if any of your colleagues who have also volunteered to be a judge are wondering if they will be able to view this, the answer is yes. We'll have this available on the IVSS website in the timeline section where all the other webinars we've held for this 2021 IVSS have also been uploaded. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so here we go. So just a reminder, you are all here. Thank you very much. You're here for the 2021 Globe International Virtual Science Symposium judging webinar. So this webinar is for judges to learn about the process because judging begins today. We'll talk more about that, of course. So my name is Amy Barfield, and I'm an education training specialist at the Globe Implementation Office in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm joined by my team members, Dr. Julie Malmberg, Sarah Parsons, and Emma Hagan, who are all on this video call as well. So they'll be here answering all your questions. And we are the team behind the IVSS. So here's just a brief overview of the IVSS this year. So we were wondering how COVID was going to affect us. And fortunately, we've still received over 200 projects. So that has been really excellent. And every year, our goal is to get 3 judges per project. This year has been amazing. We've had great turnout from judges, and we've actually been able to get 4 judges per project. And so we're very excited about that. So what is an IVSS project? So there's 3 components to it. The first part is a research report. The second part is a presentation. And those 2 components comprise the student research badge. And so I'll talk more about the judging and the scoring system later on, but overall, every participant in the IVSS will receive an I Am a Student Researcher badge on their school's My Page. My school's About Me page. So those 2 parts, the research report and the presentation, are really key components of the IVSS. Unfortunately, sometimes we do have some projects that come in that are missing one of those components, but we still accept them. So just be patient and review those. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. The third part of an IVSS project is the additional badges students can earn. So these are badges that students can choose to select that they feel that they've demonstrated these qualities, these science skills when they were making their report. And so there's descriptions of all the badges on the IVSS website, but the additional badges students can earn is I am a data scientist, which has been actually our focus this year was data science. So hopefully we'll see a lot of students earning that badge. And that's for students who really demonstrate that they've really practiced some data science and data analysis skills. We've got the I Am a Collaborator badge for students who have shown that they've collaborated either with other students or with STEM professionals. The I Am an Engineer badge is for students who've demonstrated some engineering skills in their research and their report. The I Make an Impact badge is for those students who have demonstrated that their report really goes and demonstrates some sort of impact on their local community. The I Am a STEM Storyteller badge is for those students who have really come up with a creative way to share their science in their report. And the I Am a STEM Professional badge is for students who have explored STEM careers or have worked with a STEM professional as a mentor or as someone who helped them in some aspect of their project. So now I'm going to go over the timeline of the judging. This is always very important. So today is the 29th of March. And so by today or by early tomorrow, all of the judges will be receiving the information that they need for judging in their email. So please check your inboxes later today or tomorrow morning. You have until April 5th to review the projects and ask students any questions. Sorry. And I want to emphasize this, April 5th, please, that is 1 week from today. That is the deadline for all judges. And you may hear from any one of us on the education team reaching out to you before then to just remind you or if we're missing some information. So just please be aware of that. And then by April 22nd, which is Earth Day and Globe's anniversary, all of the scores and feedback will be sent to teachers and the badges will be posted on the school's My Pages. And then on Earth Day, April 22nd, we'll show the drawing for stipends as part of our overall bigger Globe Earth Day celebration. So this is the information that all judges need to help them with the judging part of the process. So the first part is you'll need the project title and or article ID number. So this will make a little bit more sense when I show you what that is later. But this here is actually really great. We've been able to have the article ID be a tool that you can use to search for projects. But we also ask that you're making sure to use the correct project title. A lot of our projects have very similar titles. So we're making sure that we want to use the project title for the project that you are scoring and making sure that it's the exact project title. The second part is the correct grade band rubric. So these have been updated for 2021. This is very exciting. So hopefully the requirements and the expectations for different scores are a little bit more clear to all of our judges. And we want to make sure that when we're scoring projects, we're using the correct grade band so that we're using realistic expectations for different ages of our students. You'll use a Google scoring form. So you might have seen in my previous reaching out to the judges that the scoring consists of filling out a Google form. So it is, I'll show you all the form in a little bit here, but you'll want that Google scoring form and you'll be completing the entire Google form for each project. And all of that should be done by April 5th. You'll want your globe.gov login. And so I would encourage you all right after this presentation to go check if you have a globe.gov account to go check and make sure that you can log in still. And if you need any help, you can reach out to our community support team at globehelp@ucar.edu. But if you don't have a globe.gov login, that'll be fine because we'll send you information about using this alias account, the Globe Scientist account. And so all of this information that you need for judging will be sent to you by either later today or tomorrow morning. I'm talking, of course, Colorado time. So this year has been a really interesting year, of course, because of the global pandemic. So to make sure that we're still allowing all of our students to not have to violate any local health codes or health rules, we allowed students to use archived data in their projects. And this is the first year we've done this. This is the only time. Maybe we'll allow this again in the future, but for now, this year we are. So typically in an IVSS project, we ask our students to upload pictures of them entering new data. And we actually check to make sure all of our students have entered data that year. But for this year, because we wanted to make sure that students who aren't allowed to go out and collect new data were still allowed to participate, students were able to use archived data. So just be aware of that when you're scoring. The other thing is to keep an eye out for data analysis skills, because that was our theme this year. And that was in light of this, thinking that students would be able to use more data or old data. We wanted to see how they could analyze that data in creative ways. So now I'm going to go through basically the 5-step process for scoring IVSS reports. So the first thing that you'll get in your email is a Google sheet that has all of the scoring information and the projects assigned. So what is that going to look like to you? So you're going to get a project sheet, and it's going to look something like this. Actually, it'll look pretty much exactly like this. So it's going to have some information. These are all of the links that you're going to need. So we've got this link will take you to find student reports on the Globe website. This will take you to the IVSS page where the rubrics are listed, so you can make sure that you're looking at the correct rubric. The feedback submission form, that's going to be that Google form that you're going to fill out and actually assign the scores and provide your feedback. And then all of the information you need for the projects you're scoring. So there's going to be article ID, titles, et cetera, et cetera. And this actually, it got cut off. I couldn't fit the whole thing in the slide. But if you were to keep looking here, you'd see the video URL for projects that have a video presentation. Not all projects have a video presentation. And then you'll also see the badges, the additional optional badges students have selected that they would like to earn. Most projects don't have notes, but some of them do, so just keep an eye out for those. And all of this will be coming to you either today or tomorrow in an email. So the second part of the process is to find the projects you're assigned to. So when you're finding reports, the first thing you could do is you could use the link provided on your Google or on your judging sheet. The other thing you can do is go through globe.gov. So you can go through the Do Globe on the home page, and you can either go to Student Research Reports or Research and Resources and go to Student Research Reports. Both of those work the same, and they'll bring you to the same page. Once you're there, you'll have the option to filter. So this will be closed, but you can open the filter and you can add some information to help you find the reports. This year, it should be super easy because we have the article ID number. And so you can just put that right there and it should just bring up the one project you're looking for. It's been really helpful so far for us who have been searching for reports so far. But if there's other things you want to narrow your search by, here's a few things to keep in mind. First of all, make sure you're selecting this year, 2021. And the other thing is when you're looking at report type, make sure to press the International Virtual Science Symposium reports. And before any of those filters are applied, you're going to want to make sure to press that apply filter, and it'll bring up a narrower list of reports. When you open a report, this is what it's going to look like overall. So this is, of course, one from last year, but it should be the same. You're going to get all the information that you see on your judge sheet, plus a little bit more. So you have the abstract, all the students listed, the grade level. This is also, it's going to be on your judge sheet, but here too, just make sure you're using the correct grade band rubric, so you're scoring the students appropriately. Some of the projects have a poster, and that's going to be either a poster or PowerPoint presentation. And some of them might have a video URL. If it's a video, that'll be the link for that video will be on your judge sheet. If it's a poster presentation, you'll find that here. And then to view the report, you'll want to select this button. So these are just a couple of things to be aware of. Please keep that in mind. So the third thing, and I know I've said this a bunch of times already, but you'll want to be making sure that you're using the correct grade band rubric when you're scoring the reports. So you can find the rubrics by going to the globe.gov/science-symposium website and selecting rubrics. So you can see here's our menu bar here. And when you pull up this page, this is just a quick snapshot of what it will look like. You can see we've got, here's the rubric that you can see. Underneath it, I wasn't able to fit that on the screenshot, but it's going to have all of the required elements for each grade band, and those are required elements in the report. And then I made this document last year, and it seemed to really be helpful for most judges. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we also have this really wonderful document here that gives tips for providing IVSS student feedback. And so I encourage all judges to take a look at that and just get some ideas for how to provide some really valuable feedback for the students. So like I said, we have new rubrics for 2021. And so these really outline a little bit more clearly what is expected, for a 4-star report, 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star report, and then what it shows. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then each grade band, so this one, for example, is the second grade, the lower, kindergarten through second grade, the lower primary students. And these are going to be the required elements. And so those are the same as they have been in previous years. It's just this rubric that's different. And so there are certain required elements for each project. And so those include title, summary, research questions, research methods, and a conclusion. And before the projects are sent to judges, the education team, the members of the education team have gone through and briefly looked at all the projects to make sure that they have those required elements. So they should all have at least that and be able to earn at least 1 star. Sometimes those slip in, and so you might want to let us know if you're finding one that is missing some of those required elements, but they should all have at the very least the required elements. The next part of the judging process is filling out your scoring form. So the scoring form is a Google form for entering scores. The link will be sent to you via email, and it's also on your judge sheets. Each project requires you to fill out the form completely. So you want to fill that form out one time for each project, and you can submit the form multiple times for multiple projects. So if you're doing 3 projects, you'll fill out that form 3 times. And this is what it looks like. This is just the first page. So you've got the link to the rubrics. Here's a reminder once again of the judging due date. And then here's what you're going to go through. First, you're going to identify some elements of the project. So we're looking for, this is going to be your email, your name, what country the student project is from, the title, and please, if you can, copy and paste that title directly from the Google or from your judge sheet, and then the article ID number. And just so all of you know, the information we collect here, your name and your email, that's going to be confidential. So that's just for our records. The information or the feedback that you provide and the scores you provide for the students, that's going to be confidential. The students don't know where it's coming from. So it's an anonymous feedback system. Then depending on what you select here, so whatever the age of the student is going to bring you to a different form. So if you selected that the student is a middle schooler or grades 6 through 8, you're going to have different information here. So this is just copied and pasted directly from the rubric. So like I've mentioned a few times, it has been updated this year. And so we've laid out a few things that make it really clear. So for example, a 4-star report is a report that is really exceptional. It's one that you read and you're just like, wow, this is a really amazing report. The students have really gone above and beyond what is expected of students of that age. A 3-star report is a really good report. You know, it hits all of the points, it's really thought out, and it's a really good project. A 2-star report is one that maybe is missing some key elements or maybe is not as in-depth as some of the other reports. And then a 1-star report is what we call insufficient. So that's going to be reports that are really simple, missing some really in-depth analysis, maybe doesn't have enough data, things like that. And then after you fill out, oh, and one more thing. So you'll select how many stars that you give the project, and what's not shown on the screen is after that, you'll give feedback. And this is really the important part of the IVSS. And I'll talk more about giving feedback to the students in a little bit, but please, please, please make sure that you're providing some feedback for the students. And then the final thing is the optional badges. So these are the additional badges students can earn. I mentioned those at the beginning of this webinar. And either students earned or not earned them. They don't have to earn any badges. Hopefully they have. And usually the student will identify which badges that they are applying for in the report, and it will be shown on the judge sheet. So please make sure that you're looking at that to see if the students have earned the badges that they were trying to earn. And they can earn only up to 3. So please make sure you're only saying that the students have earned 3 of those badges. There's 6 of them, and they can earn only 3. Up to 3. And once you're finished, you'll get, the little feedback box that will say that your response has been recorded. And if you are planning on submitting or judging multiple projects in one sitting, after you submit your first project, you'll submit another response, and you'll do that each time for each project. All right, just give me one sec here. All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about some judging tips. So these are just some things to keep in mind. First of all, these are students. So we want to make sure that we're using age and age appropriate language when we're talking to them. And we want to make sure that we're evaluating them fairly based on the fact that they are students and not established scientists and professionals. So we want to make sure we're using appropriate language. We want to make sure we're using appropriate expectations. The next thing to consider is grade level. So all of our students, we accept reports from kindergarten up through undergraduates. So that's a huge age range. And so that's why we have different grade band rubrics, because we don't want to be evaluating a kindergartner the same way we'd be evaluating the undergraduate. Of course, we expect way more from somebody who's older and more experienced. So just make sure that you're using the correct grade band rubric and that you're really considering the age and maturity of the students when you're evaluating them and being fair with that. The third thing to remember is that this is an International Virtual Science Symposium. So we're going to have students and judges who are all have different languages, primary and secondary languages, and different abilities to communicate in different languages. And so we've been really fortunate to be able to open up the IVSS to multiple languages beyond English. So just be aware of that. A lot of our students still submit reports in English. And with that, that might mean that they've used a Google Translator or some sort of translation system. And so grammar or sentence structure, things like that, that maybe are important in a professional journal are not really important here. We really want to focus on the content rather than the grammar here. So then also another thing is just check for content in the presentation and the poster or the project report. So I showed you a few slides ago where you'll find those links. Sometimes some of our students will accidentally upload a report where the presentation is, or vice versa. Sometimes some of our reports are actually missing either a report or the report is missing a poster, and just we still want to score on what's been provided. So just make sure to check all of the links, and for those that are just a poster, we still are evaluating them. And then finally, once again, just a reminder that all of these projects are coming from all over the world. It's a really special thing to be able to view student reports from all over the world. And we just want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind. So beyond languages, like the language of this, what the student has been writing in, We're also considering what language we're providing feedback in. So we want to use language that would be understandable to different student age groups, as well as different languages. So please, if you're providing language or feedback in English to a non-native English speaker, just be considerate of that when you're writing to them. So I mentioned this document a little earlier, and so this is going to be a way for you to consider different areas to focus on when providing feedback. So when we say provide feedback, we really are talking about constructive feedback. So things to focus on could be different areas. And I'll give some example of these. But this document was created based on a report that was written from an outside source. So it has some really valuable insights about areas that judges can focus on for providing feedback. And of course, some of the areas I've listed about thinking about languages and grades and age are also in this document. So I would encourage everyone to please take a look at this to get some inspiration. So what is in that document? This is just a couple of brief examples. There's a lot more in that document, but here are some things to keep in mind. First of all, be positive. Not only are these students, but they've worked really hard on their projects, and we want to acknowledge that. So we want to use positive language, and if we're going to point areas where they could use improvement, which we definitely want. I think that's a really important and valuable part of this feedback system, but we want it to be constructive. So instead of saying, oh, this is terribly done, say how it could be improved. Constructive feedback. Another thing to think about is to highlight strengths. So while it can be easy to just focus on what could be improved, students get just as much out of knowing what they've done well. So highlight the strengths. If a student has really done a good job on their data analysis, or maybe they've written a really wonderful abstract, let them know. And then the third thing, and this is really where that tips for student feedback is, it will help here, is here's some areas you can focus on. If you're finding that you're not sure what to focus on or where to provide constructive feedback, here are some suggestions. You can think about the project structure and complexity. Ask yourself, do they have a clear strategy? Do they demonstrate a deeper understanding of the content and context? You may choose to focus on the data. Is there enough data? Is the data understood? Did they do any analysis or visualization? Could they have done one? Broader impacts. Did they consider broader impacts, such as ecological impacts? Maybe they focused on how their research affects their local community in a broader way. And then you can also focus on what resources did they use? Did they use the correct tools and methods? Did they use globe resources like the data visualization system? These are just a few examples. And so these are some areas you could consider. So this is a couple of final notes about judging. If you are not able to complete the judging for your projects, please let us know as soon as possible. And here's our email. You can email us at globeivss@ucar.edu. And I'll bring that email up again at the end. But we understand that these are really busy times. So maybe you volunteered a while ago and realize now that you're not going to be able to complete the projects. Or maybe as many projects as you originally volunteered for, and that's fine, we understand, but just please let us know as soon as possible so that we can reassign the judges to that project. On the other hand, maybe you realize you have more time and you can score more projects. So please let us know if you have additional availability as well, because we can always use some additional hands and cover some of those that the judges are not able to complete. Next, if you can't find a project or you think something is not correct, let us know right away. We're hoping that now being able to search by article ID will make it a lot easier for you to be able to find the correct projects. But sometimes things still go wrong. So please just keep an eye out for that and let us know if there's any problems whatsoever. And finally, if you have a conflict of interest with a project, let us know and we'll change judges. So when we assign judges, it's kind of like a puzzle for us. So we look at, where the student is from, where the judge is from, any additional contributors listed, things like that, because we want to make the judging process anonymous and not biased, as least biased as possible. But sometimes we accidentally slip up, and maybe we've assigned a project to a teacher to their own student, and that happens. Just let us know and we'll reassign it. Make sure that you don't have any biases towards the projects you're judging. Just let us know if there is one. And so this is an example of some feedback that a judge gave. This is one we've used for a couple of years now, and we of course have gotten tons of good ones since then, but this one is just a classic one. What I liked about this feedback from our judge was they highlighted some of the strengths, they provided some suggestions, and then sometimes we'll see a little summary of what the overall, about the overall project. So for example, our judge here pointed out some things that they liked. It was interesting to find out that some of the treated plants even changed color due to the pesticides. I love that you integrated the expertise of local farmers. Here are some highlighting strengths, an example of highlighting strengths. Here's an example of some constructive feedback. One thing that I would like to have seen is better organization of the poster you have presented. I noticed different fonts and sizes and no real order to the text boxes. So this is a great example of, he's pointing out that this is an area for improvement, but likely he did not take off points for this because he's focusing on the content rather than the grammar and font sizes. And then this judge also did a really nice job of commenting publicly. And so, like I mentioned before, the feedback you provide is anonymous, so the students will not know where it comes from. But if you'd like to kind of come out from behind the curtain a little and engage with the students a little bit more directly, you can comment on the students' posters and reports online. And this isn't a requirement. In years past, it has been, and we're no longer requiring that, but we still highly encourage it. It's a great way to interact with the students and to have them interact with you. And so that's the final thing I'm going to focus on, is being able to make comments to the students. So where would you do that? So here's an example of a project. We've got, where you find their presentation, the report, and then here's where you'd make the public comments. So keep in mind that while the rest of it is anonymous, this part isn't. So if you'd like to make a comment, this is what it's going to look like. Here's an example from Dr. Malmberg. She wrote some comments, an example of a comment here. But if you don't have a globe.gov account, but would still like to comment on a student's project, we have a Globe Scientist account that you can log into, and you'll be provided that information in the email we send to you. And if you do use that Globe Scientist alias, please make sure you sign your name on the comment so that the student knows where it's coming from. All right, wrapping things up here. I'm just going to go over the timeline again. So today we've got our judging webinar, and all of our information will be sent out to you either today or tomorrow. You have until April 5th to review projects, ask student questions via the comments, and you might hear from us before then, but please try to have that information in by April 5th. And a little bit of incentive for our judges. If you do complete at least 3 projects by the deadline, scoring at least 3 projects by the deadline, you'll receive this virtual badge on your page and a certificate. By April 22nd, the scores and feedback will be sent to teachers and the badges will be posted on their schools' pages. And on Earth Day, April 22nd, we'll show the video where we select the students for stipends. Like I said, the certificates will be, you'll receive a certificate if you scored 3 or more projects. And those will be emailed to you by the end of next month. And if you have any questions whatsoever or concerns, please let us know at globeivss@ucar.edu. And I just want to point out that our email has changed slightly since last year. So please make sure you're using our new email address. And that's all I have for you guys. So I will open it up now for questions.
Amy, one of the questions in the chat was, sorry, let me go to it. Where can you find more information about this? Can you just repeat that one more time for everyone?
Yeah, so all of the information that you should need will be at our website, and that's going to be this website right here, globe.gov/science-symposium. And so there you'll find all the information about the IVSS, the rubrics, links to the student reports, everything that you might need will be on that website. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thanks. I have another question that just came in. It looks like, how can you create a Globe account on globe.gov?
Great question. Yeah, so if you don't already have an account with globe.gov, you'll want to email our community support team, and that's going to be at globehelp@ucar.edu. So similar to this email address here, but instead of IVSS, it's going to be help. So globehelp@ucar.edu. It's our community support team, and they will help you set up a globe.gov account.
I'm not seeing any other questions that haven't been answered yet come in, but I'll give it another minute or so.
All right, well, I just want to thank everyone once again for joining me today. And please let us know if you have any questions. You have our email address. And thank you all so much for volunteering your time to help these students by judging their projects and providing scores and feedback. We really, really appreciate your contribution. And for those of you who have judged multiple years, it's great to see you again. And once again, thank you so much for all of your help. So look for an email from us later today or tomorrow. And yeah, thank you all. Have a great day.